We begin in April 1947. A chemical explosion is about to turn Texas City into hell on earth.
This is Texas City, located 10 miles north of Galveston, on the shores of Galveston Bay. World War II brought big industry, especially chemicals and oil, made it a boom town. In 5 years, the influx of workers swelled its population from 5 to 18,000. Chief among the industrial plants ringing the harbor, the expanding Monsanto Chemical Company. In 1947, half of the nation's styrene supply comes from this one Texas City plant. 1 mile directly beyond Monsanto is the business district of Texas City. There are 3 main slips in Texas City's busy harbor. Behind them are clustered the tank farms of a number of the nation's most prominent oil companies. On the morning of April 16th, 1947, the center slip berthed 2 ships. At Pier B, the SS Wilson B. Keene. At Pier A, the SS High Flyer. Separated by 500 feet of warehouses, at Pier O lies a barge, and the French freighter SS Grand Camp.
This is Ron Stone. The Grand Camp lay across this slip, taking on a cargo of ammonium nitrate, a fertilizer that is good, comparatively inexpensive, and under certain conditions, highly explosive. Just what these conditions are wasn't clear, apparently, to the men aboard the Grand Camp. For instance, though signs prohibited smoking, the warnings were ignored.
Went aboard the ship, and we seen smoke coming up from between the cargo and the side of the ship. They had a water bucket down there they'd been drinking water out of, so I told them to throw the water bucket and everything down there to see if they could put the fire out. Well, it had no effect. So about that time, the crew members started coming down in the hole with fire extinguishers from the ship. Well, it did no good.
Before 8:30, 27 volunteers of the Texas City Fire Department arrive on the dock. Texas City has a new fire engine, and this is its first time out. This is not the first time out for the volunteer firemen, though. Most are expert at extinguishing chemical and oil fires. Hundreds of spectators, attracted by the billowing smoke, begin to pour into the waterfront area. At 8:50, a housewife and amateur movie maker, Mrs. Fred Knappenberger, with her 8mm camera, begins filming the burning ship in the industrial area. Shortly after 9, Mrs. Knappenberger, searching for a better vantage point, drives over to the Texas City dike for an unobstructed view across the water of the burning Grand Camp. The time is 9:12. Two explosions, only seconds apart, go off with the force of the Nagasaki atomic bomb. The first explosion has hurled the Grand Camp's nitrate high in the air over the ship, where it has exploded in an even more devastating blast, smashing everything below and rocking the Gulf Coast for 150 miles. The force of the explosion is detected on a seismograph as far away as Denver. All 27 volunteer firemen were killed instantly, along with many of the spectators. The Monsanto plant is leveled. Inside, 227 are killed. Many are decapitated or crushed by flying debris, strangled by poison gases, then swept by fire. Pieces of the Grand Camp weighing tons are found almost a mile away. Warehouses, pipelines, concrete walls have been ripped apart and hurled through the air like so many cardboard toys. next to the Grand Camp is tossed 200 feet across land into a parking lot. And the parking lot itself has been turned into a junkyard. Even a light airplane flying over the scene has been blasted out of the sky. Almost every house within a 1-mile radius of the explosion has collapsed, and virtually every window is shattered for 2 miles. As far away as 2 miles, people driving in their cars are killed by the barrage of flying debris. Chunks of red-hot shrapnel hurtle through the air, piercing oil tanks and releasing a flood of flaming gasoline and oil. Balls of twine, also a part of the Grand Camp's cargo, are sent flaming through the air, further spreading the fire. By radio, telephone, and telegraph, the news is flashed to the nation. There is no water, and it appears that the entire city is about to be overwhelmed. Within minutes, the highway between Galveston and Texas City is filled with doctors, ambulances, and fire engines speeding to the scene. Only one circuit is working, a telephone supervisor sends the first desperate appeal for help to the outside world. For God's sake, send the Red Cross. Thousands are dying. The Red Cross arrives in force and organizes one of the largest emergency operations in history. Field hospitals are hurriedly set up to care for the hundreds of burned and injured victims.
With gas mask on account of the sulfur, and afraid that one of these big grain elevators are going to blow up. We've been down here ever since noon. We haven't stopped a minute. We have given emergencies. We're down here with over 300 firemen, giving them hot coffee, washing their eyes. We've had several injured, and 25 firemen have perished over by the docks. They were burnt, and the truck went on down into the water. We have another truck up here off of the road. It had about 10 or 15 men, and they were all crushed.
Everything down here is tore very badly. Everything is leveled off, and one of the greatest disasters I've ever seen. It looks worse than the disaster at Coventry in England. All equipment and everything is leveled off here. The barges on the ground and towns where it's laid flat. To my knowledge, it's one of the greatest disasters that could ever happen to this world.
Sightseers stay at home and listen to the radio and let the men that are down here do the work.
Already we've rescued about 5 dead and 4 injured. And I imagine there's still more that are buried in the buildings we were in that we couldn't get to.
I've been digging the bodies out, carrying them out. Well, I've carried about 10 or 15 myself.
There's a lady that had 2 children, and she's lost both children there and hasn't been able to find them. The man was walking along with his wife with a little baby, and during the explosion, the baby disappeared from their arms, and they haven't seen the baby since.
Emergency calls for drugs and medical supplies go out, and all over the country, planes begin a gigantic airlift to the stricken city. The demand for the new penicillin is so great that it threatens to exhaust the nation's supply. From as far away as California and Massachusetts, supplies and personnel are rushed in to aid the rescue operation.
There is a few fire trucks and everything now going to work on the building where there is people trapped that can't get out and are probably dead by now.
Got quite a few bodies out, and so far all been finding is bits, just pieces of jawbone and stuff like that.
These terrific explosions have sent hundreds of people to their deaths.
Oh, we want some ambulances and some doctors down here to help these boys. They're in bad shape, some of them. So So send us some help down here and help us out a little bit.
That explosion has killed hundreds of persons. Some estimates are as many as 1,000.
So it's really worse than any invasion that could ever happen to any land.
The Army had units here. The 48th Marine Battalion from Houston, Texas, is ready to stand by to safeguard property and to prevent any looting, of which, by the way, there has been no sign. There is no evidence of any looting. The entire community is suffering shock.
As the day wears on, all except rescue workers are barred from the city. Martial law is not declared, but it takes a state pass to enter the burning town. Pumpers arrive from Houston, and water from the bay is poured into the plane.
We're going to stay here until things are well under control. We knocked the fire out to the just this side of the grain elevator, and the boys are now working on the docks, just off from the cotton sheds. We have stationed our pumper, our number 3's pumper is just off of the grain elevator, and everything is working fine. We have another company in town taking care of the city of Texas City. We're going to stay over here, and this thing is well under control. So you folks that have these boys over here fighting these fires, don't worry about them. They're all okay, and they're doing a bang-up job. We have to do a good job. There's lives here and bodies alive to save and bodies yet to get, and we must stay here until the job is done. So if we're not home, don't worry about us. We're all in good shape.
An emergency morgue is set up, and distraught survivors wait in an ever-lengthening line.
A garage was utilized and made into a temporary morgue. There, 128 bodies were piled, while these relatives came to identify the dead. Already, some 300 estimated dead are being counted here in Texas City. The toll may be even larger because many persons are seriously injured. The fire continues. There is still danger of more explosions. The Army, the governor of Texas, Buford Jester, the mayors and police officials of neighboring cities and counties are all here offering their assistance to Texas City.
We found out some interesting information over there that hasn't been covered up to this point. Lamarck Negro School is the refugee center for the colored people. We've been rather in doubt as to where they were being kept, but we have found out that is where a lot of the injured and missing can be found.
The water came up underneath the dock, which was constructed of 3-inch planking, and it threw me about 25 or 30 feet back, and I landed on solid ground with all this planking on top of it. I was out for about 40 minutes, I think, and when I came to and I tried to move the lumber off of me, but I couldn't move any. There was 2 rescue men passing down the roadway, and I hollered at them, and they came over there and picked this lumber off of me and tried to get me on my feet. Both my legs were broke, so I couldn't stand up, so they picked me up and took me over to the first aid place where some Army officer gave me a shot and told me to take me to Galveston. And in the meantime, I told these boys that there were some other men in that same vicinity under that lumber because I was talking to them. And they put me in an ambulance and sent me to Galveston.
What were you thinking about while you were underneath all that lumber?
Everything that I did wrong in my early days. That kept me busy.
Was there fire all around you?
There was fire over across the slip, and all around the back of me where I could see there was fire, and that was the only thing that was worrying me, that this place might catch a fire, and I'd burn up underneath all that lumber, and I didn't think that was too pleasant a way to die.
Then they took you to St. Mary's in Galveston?
I went to St. Mary's Hospital in Galveston there. I spent 87 days in there. I lost a leg in the meantime.
From 6 in the evening, the freighter SS High Flyer has been burning. It, too, carries a cargo of ammonium nitrate, and attempts to tow it away from the pier have been fruitless. For hours, firefighters work daily to bring it under control, and rumors of another impending explosion begin to sweep the city.
This is Ben Kaplan, KTHD News Director. I've just left Mayor J.C. Tran at Texas City, and he has this important announcement to make. I quote, "If there is not an investigation already underway, I am going to ask for one." End quote. By this, the mayor explained, he wishes to find out the circumstances of the docking of a French ship reportedly loaded with ammonia nitrate. The mayor isn't satisfied that he has all the facts at his disposal and says that he is going to ask the proper federal agency to investigate conditions aboard the vessel. According to the mayor, he believes that a Coast Guard investigation ordered in New Orleans headquarters is already underway. He believes that federal authorities will make a complete investigation of the circumstances of the original explosion which set off the disaster. Here comes another explosion. The sky.
You have just heard it. We are bending down. The sky is like broad daylight. No one knows what it is from where we are. We have all hit the ground. We are all lying on the ground. It may have been another barge that went up. The sky is still red. We are all hitting the dirt. I hope you can hear me. This is Ben Kaplan, your KPHD News Director, with the entire KPHD News staff lying down. Folks are running in the street. Some metal landed within 10 feet of us. Here comes the man now. Have you come from the dock?
All I know, it was a ship that was being pulled away that they told us down there that was loaded with flour, and there was not any danger of it exploding. If it contained flour and lumber, well, I'll tell you one thing, flour and lumber certainly blows, and I'm not trying to be comic at a time like this either.
As the second day wears on, the deputy mayor announces there is no imminent danger of further blasts along the waterfront. We're in good shape now. On the third day, the situation is under control. Even while the rescue work continues, Monsanto Chemical Company publicly announces its intention to rebuild its Texas City branch. It is a powerful vote of confidence in a brave people, and the people take heart. On Saturday, April 19th, the survivors of Texas City gather in the high school football field to mourn their more than 550 dead, to pray for their 4,000 injured.
Many other terrible stories came out of the Texas City blast. Identifying the dead was difficult because shrapnel had torn many of the 552 victims apart. One identification was made when a headless torso was brought in with a car key buried in its chest. A woman thought the key looked familiar and asked to see it. She took the key to her family car and inserted it into the ignition. The car started. The corpse was her husband. Trauma